Hey guys, welcome back to the shop. Today I have something kind of interesting and cool planned for everyone. I'm going to be making a chair out of stone. So we're going to be using stone as our primary medium, and we're going to be connecting metal legs and a backrest to it, and we're all going to be doing it with metal. I'm going to show you guys how to use some concrete anchors, which is really important because I use them all the time for so many different things, and it's just a good skill to know how to use concrete anchors and bolt into rock, stone, cinder block, anything like that. So this is going to be a fun build. It's a chair build, just using materials that I found and scraps from the shop. So let's get right into it.
All right, guys, so here we are, and I'm using this piece of scrap metal that I have as the connector for the legs. So what I'm doing right now is I'm just making sure that it's going to be flat when the table is down because the rock is uneven. And the way that I'm doing that is I'm just sliding my speed square along this flat table and making sure it's the same height throughout. And it ended up that I needed 1 extra inch at the bottom there to make sure that the legs sat flush when the chair was sitting down. So I'm just cutting that to size now, and I'm going to take a piece of 1-inch square tube scrap, and I'm just going to put it right underneath this piece right here. And that's going to make sure that our chair is going to be sitting flat. So you don't need this much. I'm just using it for aesthetics. It could be 1 inch long and just propping it up under there. But I'm going to be bolting in through that. So I just wanted it to be nice and secure and look kind of aesthetic. Here we are. I'm using 1.5-inch square tube for the legs. It's the only stuff I had. I would have preferred to use something a little bit slimmer and sleek, but we'll get into that later.
Okay, so we're gonna get the pitch of our table legs, and we're gonna do that by using our speed square. So the speed square is awesome because, as you can see here, it says pivot, and this becomes then the pivot point. So say I want to get a angle of 35 degrees, right? I keep my pivot point centered, and then I'm just gonna go like this. And then see how my 35 degrees lines up with my my straight edge here where the fence was resting before. So I'm going to pivot that over to 35 degrees. And then this line right here becomes a 35 degree angle like this. So that's 35 degrees. Let's say I wanted to do 45 degrees. I could go like this. There's my 45 degrees. And say I just flip over, and you know this is 45 degrees, this speed square. This 45 degrees should line up just like that, perfect. So that's how you use your speed square to get an angle of something. So for these table legs, I think I'm gonna want them to be at least 17. Let's do a kind of a wide angle because they're all coming out from the base. Maybe let's even do a 25 degree angle. So here's our 25 degree angle, just like that. And what I'm gonna do to cut that angle out on this, I think we're gonna use a bigger piece. On this table leg is I'm gonna line it up. And then, now that that's lined up here, I can just take it, press down. Let's see if you can actually see that line right there. There you go. Press down, take my soapstone, and from the underside of the table, I'm gonna push my soapstone up and mark like that. So now when I flip this guy over, here's my angle that I'm gonna cut it at, and that's gonna be that 20 degree angle that we were just talking about. So there you go, that's how you use your speed square to get an angle and then transfer that angle onto a straight piece that you're working with, in this case, the table leg.
Now, we also could have done that just by putting the square right on that piece of metal, but since we did it right on the table, I was able to just line up all 4 legs and mark them out without having to measure the angle multiple times. So now you just see me here, I'm just tacking these legs on, and I'm doing a really simple way. I'm just making sure that each corner of those legs is touching a corner of that sheet of steel so that they're all going out in different directions. And I'm just giving them a little bit of tacks to stay on. Once those tacks are finished, we're just gonna weld it up here, and here we go, just welding those legs on. Now, if you guys are enjoying the content, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. I post new videos every Sunday, so don't miss any. I go over all sorts of builds here, and really, I'm just here to help you guys out with whatever you need. So use me as a resource, subscribe to the channel, let me know if there's anything you want me to focus on, and check me out on Patreon. I have a Patreon where I do bonus content, and I also have a Discord there where you can come in and you can ask any questions. I have detailed drawings of all of my previous builds, and I'll be doing detailed drawings and videos for my Patreons so that you can see exactly how I do things and you can make the exact same things that I'm making. So check it out, and thanks so much for watching, guys. I really appreciate it. I'm just taking my drill and my drill bit and I'm making sure that my tap cons are fitting in there. My tap cons are those blue screws that you saw for a second. We'll go over those later, but they're a concrete anchor, and they're gonna go in right into that stone and connect this. There's a couple different ways to anchor into concrete and stone. This is probably my least favorite way to do it with the tap cons, but it is gonna be totally sufficient for what we're doing right now. So what I've done is, I didn't get a recording of it, but I put this stone on top of the table, on top of the base. I put this stone on top of the base, and I marked where I needed those holes to be, those first few holes to be. So I went in with my hammer drill, and I drilled those holes out just a little bit. So I'm just putting in a couple of screws right now, and I'm showing you the importance of countersinking them. I didn't countersink that first shot, and I did the second one, and you just want those screws to sit nice and flush with the bottom of this plate here so it looks nice. So I just drilled in a couple of those screws so that I could keep everything secure while I drilled the rest of the holes so I can get a good lineup. And what I'm doing right now is I'm just taking my drill bit, and that drill bit is the same size as these screws. So you want to make sure that your hole is actually deeper than the screw length so that the screw has enough room to bite. So now that the base is totally on there with those screws, I'm just going with some boiled linseed oil, and I'm sealing the top of the rock of the seat. And you want to make sure that you get nice and good everywhere. I did a couple coats with about 20 minutes of saturation on each coat. I would just wipe off the excess with a cloth in between. And now I'm putting flood penetrol on the legs. That's just how I seal a lot of my metal. I have a whole video on flood penetrol and sealing and finishing work on my channel, so go ahead and check that out if you want to learn how to seal metal for exterior applications. And then at this point, I was kind of going to be finished because this is just kind of an experiment, but I decided to put a backrest on the chair. So that's what this is now. And you can see I'm drilling it out here with that hammer drill again, and this is a really hard rock, so I'm going in ascending order of drill bit sizes. I'm just kind of making sure that my drill isn't overdoing it. As you can see here, I have to tighten the chuck again and again because it keeps getting looser and looser, but I'm going to be putting 1/2 inch diameter rods into these holes, and I'm going to also be putting them into the seat, which is what you see me doing here. I'm just drilling into the seat. As you can see, I probably should have waited to put that linseed oil on, but I didn't actually know that I was going to be putting a backrest on here when I was doing this. So it's kind of a spur of the moment thing. No big deal, just a little bit more cleanup at the end. It's always easier to drill downwards into something. So there you can see the 1/2 inch diameter rods that I'm putting in. I'm just blowing out all of the holes and everything that I just drilled with a little bit of compressed air. And here we go, some liquid nails construction adhesive. We're just gonna put those into these holes right here. And what I could have done is I could have taken my angle grinder and put a little bit of texture on the tips of these rods when they're going in there, but I just decided not to, and we're just gonna go in. It's totally finished now and sealed, and there's no wiggle or anything like that, so it worked fine, and they're not gonna go anywhere. Here's the back piece that I used. It's actually filled with fossils, and there is the completed chair. So it was super simple. I think it took me 2 hours or less to finish this build. really easy, something that anybody could do. I hope you learned something, and if you want to learn anything more, just hit me up in the comments below. I'm happy to answer any questions. Thanks, guys.